Hello, in this video we're going to be talking about modals, but we're going to focus on general differences between one-word modals and phrasal modals. Hopefully you know something about modal verbs. This is a category of verbs, and these verbs are always used together with another verb. The modal verb adds more information. It qualifies or it modifies the meaning of the other verb. So we have some different categories we're going to talk about here. And first is the one-word modals. The one-word modals include must, may, might, will, would, can, could, should, and shall. Then we have phrasal modals. Now, phrasal means it's more than one word. So we have phrasal modals without the verb be. These include have to, have got to, had better, used to, and ought to. Finally, we have phrasal modals that do include the verb be allowed to, be going to, and be about to, be able to, and be supposed to. You may sometimes find other lists that don't include all of these or might include a few others, but these are probably the most common phrasal modals, and then our one-word modals. So, I am not going to take the time to explain all the meanings of these. That would take a very long time, and I have other videos that you can watch that do more of that. What I am going to do is give you some idea of why you might choose a one-word modal as opposed to a phrasal modal. However, I do want to point out that in my chart, I did try to make some comparative idea of these meanings if you look across the line. So, for example, have to, have got to, and had better have similar uses to the one-word modal must. Used to can have a similar meaning to would if you're talking about past repeated actions. And ought to has basically the same meaning as should. Be allowed to is basically the meaning of may if you're talking about may for permission. Be going to and be about to are talking about future actions, similar to the idea of will. Be able to has a similar meaning to can when you're talking about can as ability, be able to. And be supposed to has a similar meaning to should in talking about expectation. So, why would you choose one over the other? That's a great question. Let me try to answer that. So, first of all, in general, one-word modals are more commonly used for formal English, more academic English. If you're looking at a contract, if you're looking at some kind of legal writing, if you are writing an academic paper, or in a more formal speech, you may want to choose one-word modals. Those generally are considered more formal. There is one exception, and that is can versus be able to. Can is usually not as formal as be able to. So saying she is not able to assist you is more formal than saying she can't assist you. Another thing you should consider is that there are a number of word modals that must be used if you have a certain function or meaning in mind, that we don't have any phrasal modals to express that idea. So for example, requests. Will you help me? Would you help me? Could you help me? Can you help me? We really don't have phrasal modals that do that. Invitations. Would you like to come to my party? Can you come to my house? Would you come to my house? Again, we really don't have phrasal modals for that. Suggestions. Should we go? Shall we go? You could try calling her. You can think about doing that differently. You might want to try the restaurant on the corner. These can be used for suggestions, and we really don't have good phrasal modals for that. General possibility, will and can. Saying something like, it can be very difficult to play a game on wet grass. If it rains, it will be very difficult to play a game on the grass. General possibility. Impossibility, can't and couldn't. These are often used to express some idea of surprise or disagreement with another person. That can't be true. That couldn't be true. And we really don't have phrasal modals for that. So these are functions where you may need to use a one-word modal. So what's the good of these phrasal modals? Well, they're actually a lot of good. In fact, if you want a more specific meaning, sometimes a phrasal modal is what you need. If you have studied modals, you probably know that some of these modals have many different meanings. For example, could has lots, 7, 8 different meanings. So it can be confusing sometimes when you use those modals. And if you need to be more specific about your idea, sometimes you need a phrasal modal. For example, if somebody says, I can't take a class at this school next semester, and you say, oh, you can't? Why? Do you need some papers that you don't have? And your friend says, oh, no, I mean, I'm allowed to take classes, I'm just not able to. So using can't may be confusing if you're not sure if you're talking about permission or ability. So if you need to clarify that, you would say, oh, I'm allowed to take classes, but I'm not able to. I don't have the time. Okay, so that's a use of phrasal modals. Also, if you want to combine two modals together, at least one of them needs to be a phrasal modal. For example, she might be able to come. We have a phrasal modal, be able to. It is not possible to say she might can come. You need to have a phrasal modal if you're going to combine. It is also possible to put two phrasal modals together. For example, you have to be able to lift heavy things if you work for this company. Okay, have to be able to. Two phrasal modals together. You can do that. Finally, if you want to express a specific verb tense, you might need to use a phrasal modal. What do I mean by that? Well, with these one-word modals. These are used, for the most part, they're used for present and future ideas. There are some exceptions. Could is possible in the past. Would is possible in the past. But most of these are used for present and future. Many of them do have a past form, like should have, could have. But still, that's only two different forms, a present form and a past form. What if you want to be more specific? What if you want the present perfect? You can't use the present perfect with the one-word modals. So if you want to give that specific idea, you need a verb that can change to all the different verb tenses. The be verb can change to all the different verb tenses. Also, have can change. Now, be careful because these three cannot change. Had better, this is a present modal, by the way. It's not past, it's present. But it doesn't change. Used to, ought to, don't change. But have and be can go with all different verb tenses. So, if I say, I haven't been able to fit into these jeans for a few years. For a few years, from the past until now, I'm going to use a phrasal modal to express that idea, haven't been. It doesn't work to say, I can't fit into these jeans for a few years, or I couldn't fit into these jeans for a few years. Those don't work. They don't give that idea for a few years from the past until now. So we need to use a phrasal modal for that idea. So I hope that these general differences of using one versus the other help you the next time you're trying to decide which modal to use in your writing or your speech. If you want more information on modals, check out some of my other videos. Thanks.